Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host, here at the Gaming Gang channel. Thanks for joining me once again. Troll Lord Games Month continues with a first look at Castles and Crusades, Codex of Aihrde from the aforementioned Troll Lord Games. This is written by Stephen Chenault with artwork provided by Peter Bradley, Nathan Nada, Zoe DeVos, Jason Walton, Tati and Sandara Tang, Tomas Hans, Cowboy Hobb, and Joel Chaim Holtzman. And I apologize, I've probably mispronounced at least one or two of those names. This 288-page hardcover is available now, carries an MSRP of $49.99, or you can grab just the PDF alone over at DriveThruRPG for $24.99. All that said, let's swing on over to the other camera because here I've got the Codex of Aihrde for Castles and Crusades. A couple of things I want to mention before we jump on in. First of all, my friends over at Troll Lord Games were kind enough to provide me with this review copy. But neither I nor anyone else affiliated with the Gaming Gang has received any sort of compensation outside of this review copy in order to share this coverage with you. These days, it's important you know that. We're also not going to look at each and every page of the Codex, but I want to give you a very good feel for what you're going to find inside this book. Now, of course, this is the latest edition of the Codex. I want to say the print run was from this year. So this was kickstarted successfully, I do believe, if I remember correctly, in 2023. And this is a brand new print run. You may recall about 2 years ago, I shared a first look at the previous print edition of the Codex. First thing we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the credits page because a lot of folks work very hard to bring this to life. Let's give them credit where credit is due. So we'll take a second, take a peek at this. And then we're going to jump on in. Now, this is actually broken up into 3 sections. We've got the Almanac, we've got the Endaneth, and then we've got some appendices. The Almanac takes up the biggest portion of the page count here. In fact, if I remember correctly, it's about 175 pages or so. Now, this is the home world of Castles and Crusades, the world of Aihrde, and we're going to get into pretty much a breakdown of the game world. Now, you know I talk about Castles and Crusades quite a bit, especially on my live show, the Gaming Gang Dispatch. I am a big fan. I think it is an excellent fantasy role-playing game for those who want an old school feel with modern styled mechanics. And it's super easy to port over thousands of Dungeons and Dragons adventures that have been released by TSR, Wizards of the Coast. I mean, essentially up to about 3.5. You can port over on the fly for the most part. So I love that as well. So I talk about Castles and Crusades quite a bit. Looks like we are into some of the various different deities. So we've got the Pantheon here. And looks like we've got some of the various different races and their pantheon. So we've got the Lord of High Elves, we've got the Lord of Battle, Lord Protector of the Forest. So we get into the peoples of Aihrde, dwarves, giants, gnomes, goblins, humans, elves, and so forth. There's a decent amount of artwork throughout, as far as I remember. I got to point out, I believe further on into the Almanac, we get a little less artwork. Of course, that might be because I am skipping a lot of pages too, so keep that in mind. So as far as the book itself, as I mentioned, Aihrde is the sort of home setting for Castles and Crusades. But of course, you can easily utilize Castles and Crusades with just about any sort of fantasy setting. If you are interested in high fantasy or low fantasy or kind of grim dark fantasy, you can pull those off with Castles and Crusades very easily. There are other codexes as well, and we will be taking a look at some of those later on in the month too. So we have Norse legend and mythology. We have some of the Asian mythology and legends that you can utilize those lands. I got to be honest, I'm not sure if they're part of the world of Aihrde or if they're their own worlds. We will find out when we take a peek. But I do know there are a variety of various different codexes, and we're going to take a look at a few of them. So here we are diving on into various different kingdoms in the almanac. So we're going to get geographical location, travel, heraldry of the land and its governance, the army, their gods, its people, how the kingdom came to be, and who their rulers are. So you are going to find quite a few of these throughout. Now, keep in mind, this is not a review. This is a page through, but I do recall good portions of this from the page through I did a couple of years back. There will be a review of the Codex in the not too distant future, so stay tuned for that. As you can see, decent amount of artwork, but as far as the amount of content that's in here, there is loads and loads of gameable material. Now, I should also point out the world of Aihrde is fairly detailed. It is not as detailed as, say, Harn would be. I know I have a lot of folks out there who are big Harn fans, Harn Master, Harn World, which I find to be a really interesting setting. Of course, the world of Aihrde isn't that detailed, but I'll tell you what, it gets kind of close. Gets kind of close. So if you want that level of detail for your fantasy game world, this is a great starting point. Plus, there's loads and loads of content out there for Castles and Crusades. So do not fear getting into Castles and Crusades and then finding out, well, they don't publish anything. That is certainly not the case. Something I always like to point out too when we're taking a look at Castles and Crusades releases is that people think that there's a trio of books that you need to be able to run and play Castles and Crusades simply because that's how D&D works. And there is a Castle Keeper's Guide. Castle Keeper is the game master for Castles and Crusades. But that volume is simply all optional material and advice for running Castles and Crusades. So the reality is all you need is the player's handbook and monsters and treasure, and you are good to go. So it's important to keep that in mind. And you can usually find those free from Troll Lord Games. No joke. The player's handbook, as well as monsters and treasure in PDF, are usually free. Sometimes you got to kind of dig around the Troll Lord Games website to find them, and they aren't going to be the latest print runs of them, but very, very usable by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, Castles and Crusades is well known for not having editions. So the same Castles and Crusades, which came out 20 years ago, that's right, Troll Lord Games is celebrating 20 years of Castles and Crusades in 2024. That same version is no different. Now, sure, it's grown and it's gotten a lot more content and has expanded as far as the rule books go, but the core mechanics and everything, all still the same. And a lot of people love that fact that every few years they don't have to run out and go buy a new Castles and Crusades player's handbook and monsters and treasure. No, now we do get new print runs because they go out of print. And a lot of times we'll get new covers to the books, but that's it. So very cool. Another big selling point for Castles and Crusades. So in this portion of the book, we're getting into history, the history of the game world. And then we will be moving on into the appendices. And if I remember right, we have in the appendices, we've got languages, we've got, I think, economic concepts. So let's see. Here we go. So we got the Catalyst Wars. So here's the timeline of the Catalyst Wars. And then we have the Winter Dark Wars, because this like main setting is after Winter Dark. So this is in the past. So we're taking a look at the history here. Then I think we've got languages coming up. There we go. Languages. Right. Okay. So Dwarven, Elven, Humanoid, Magic. Here's our calendar. The Annals of Days. There we go. Economic tiers. That's what I was thinking of. That's the last appendix. And then we have climate and weather. And there is also a poster map in here. Let's see. Let's see how it'll unfold. Nope, upside down. Let's see if I can unfold it without necessarily pulling it out of the book. Yay, I can do it. So here we go. It's a pretty nice poster map. It's 4x4 panels, as you can see. Let's just fold that up there. Very nice. Very cool. All right. So I'll fold that back into the book. And that is a look inside the Codex of Aihrde for Castles and Crusades. As I mentioned, I will have a review of this book. I didn't actually review the previous edition. I did a first look. I did a page through, just like you're seeing for this video, but it did not get a review because I knew there was a new edition, new print run that was coming out right after I did that video, or I should say it was kickstarting right after I did that video. All right. So once again, Castles and Crusades Codex of Aihrde is from Troll Lord Games, and it is available now. The 288-page hardcover carries an MSRP of $49.99, or you can grab just the PDF alone over at DriveThruRPG for $24.99. And of course, as I mentioned, I will have a review of the Codex in the not-too-distant future. All right, that is it for this time out. If you liked the video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, don't forget, ring that bell. It'll not only let you know when I share videos such as this first look, it'll also inform you when my live stream, the Gaming Gang Dispatch, airs Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings right here on YouTube at 7 p.m. Central. And of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit gaminggang.com for the latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you are not going to find on YouTube. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Troll Lord Games Month will continue. Thank you very much for watching. Once again, I'm Jeff McAleer. And until I see you next time, I certainly hope all of you get to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.